Hi everybody. I'm here just to show you something I did yesterday. And but I'm going to show you how I did it. Just a minute. I'm going to show you just a little bit. This is a piece of felt. How big is this piece of felt? This felt is. And I bought this in a package. Let me see. It is a piece that is 8 inches by 12. 8 by 12. This is Kiwi. He measures things for me. 8 by 12. If you are making a if you're making a pillow journal out of a placemat, like this here is a pillow journal out of a placemat. If you are doing this, these here fit right on your pages. And let me show you just real quick here. See, now on this one I have my pages a little bit smaller, a little less than my binding, than my seam on my spine on my book. But and so they're a little shorter. Now see, if I were to take my my piece of felt, if I take my piece of felt and I put it on here when I'm finished with it, it would be a little wider than the actual page because my pages are a little bit narrow, but it would still fit this way, which is fine, and it's not too big this way. And so then, like when you flip it over to the other side, you would see a little bit on the top and the bottom of the felt, and actually that makes it look even better. So anyhow, let me just show you real quick. Now, I just threw my piece of felt on the floor, and I got to bend over and pick it up. Okay, there we go. There's my felt. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this felt is I'm going to just layer pieces of fabric, and I'm going to leave like a little bit of a frame around, a little bit of the color of the green around. I'm not going to go just to all the corners and stuff. Let me see. And so what I'm going to do is I have 4 by 4 squares here that was sent to me by a beautiful subscriber. Thank you very much. And so I'm just going to lay these on here somehow, but leaving the little bit of a border, little bit of the green border of the felt border. And I'm just going to be layering these on here. And let me see, I want different colors. Different colors. There, I got one layer. Now I can go with another layer. And different colors. And I'm just going to layer them on there. I'm not actually going to sew these. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to sew them. I'll just point. I'm going to be pointing you in the right direction. Or maybe it'll be the wrong direction, but I'll be pointing you in some direction. So I'm just kind of layering up these fabrics so there's different colors. I just want different colors. And see, they're overlapping. And so I have pretty much got some parts of it is going to have 2 layers, some parts of it is going to have 3 layers, but they're going to at least have 2. So see, that's 2 there, and that corner has 2, and that corner has 2, and that corner has 3. So we're going good here. Let me put one more of orange here. Okay. Oh, I think on this one I want to have it. Maybe I want that to be a solid color. Let's see. Let me see. Ooh, where's another color, solid one that I didn't. I don't know why I want a solid one. I have not got a clue. I have no clue why I want a solid one on there. But let's see what we have here. Okay, I'm going to go with this. Well, I'll go with this one. It's not really solid, but it's got polka dots on it. Now, and this is how I'm going to have my maybe I'm going to put one more right here. Yeah, and one here. Okay, this is how I'm going to have my stacks done, and so I can still see a frame of the green around, of the green felt around it. Now, when I sew this, let me show you the one I did so you'll know what I'm talking about. Oops, my pen fell. This I did on purple. Now, hopefully you can see enough on here. I'll point because I know I can't zoom in, so I don't know how to do that zooming on whatever. But now, if you look at this part of it, I sewed a square. And then I went inside about 1/2 inch and made another square. I used the sewing machine. And then I went in about 1/2 inch and made a third square. And then in the center, I made a small square. Again, going in about 1/2 inch. So I have sewn 4 squares right here on this piece. On this part, I just sewed straight stitches. About 1/2 inch apart, I sewed straight stitching in lines. All right. On this little piece here, there's no sewing. On this piece, I made a square, and it's not a perfect square. It doesn't have to be a perfect square, but on the sewing machine, I made a square. You can do this hand stitching, but you know what I've decided is this is not going to be all slow stitching. We're going to call it, instead of just slow stitching, we're going to call it textile art. And so that means you can use any kind of stitching, slow, fast, whatever, but keep some slow stitching in it. Okay, I made the square, and then inside the square I made like a tic-tac-toe board. Inside the square I have 2 lines going down, kind of 1/3, and 2 lines going across, and so you got 3 squares here and 3 squares across. That's how I did this part. This part then, I sewed, first I went across the center and sewed a diagonal line, because here's my squares right up here. Here's my tic-tac-toe board there. And then, so then I had this with no stitching. So I went diagonally with my stitching, my diagonal stitching. So I did the middle one first so that it kind of got even. And then I could go like about 1/2 inch and make another one, another one, another one, another one, all the way across, and then on the other side too. So it's a whole series of diagonal stitches. Now let me show you this side. I love this. Once I got it all sewn together, I started slashing like we did Monday on the slashing video. On the live stream, we did slashing. Now on this one, I just slashed in between every line of the diagonal. So then you have a diagonal piece. This one here was the square that I did a square and then sewn a square inside and then inside and then the small square in the middle. This one here is where I just stitched the straight lines. And then I slashed between each one of them lines. And then this one here is where I didn't sew anything. I didn't sew anything, but I had still that fabric, which then I just cut it like in a fringe right there. See how wrinkled and crinkled? I've washed this. Just washed it by hand in the kitchen sink and then hung it outside to dry. This one here now is this where I did the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, the tic-tac-toe board kind of a thing. Tic-tac-toe board in a square. And then when I cut this one, I cut it in an X inside each one of the squares. And so then, once you get all of this cut, then, once it's all slashed, then you're not finished. You're not finished until you're finished, when you think you're finished. So as you can see, I have added some sequins here with beads. Here is some French knots. Here's some French knots, and here's some more sequins and beads. Here's some buttons. Here's some buttons over here that I've added. And as you can see here in the where I snipped that one, I slashed it in the X. Some of the parts of the X I pushed up, and then I put this one here, I held it up with a French knot, and there a French knot. Here is a sequin with a bead. Some of them are just left to dangle, just left to dangle. And then I just added a couple buttons there, see? And this one here, I cut it even some more, so you can continue slashing, but the top layers of that same one, I put that up and held it up with a French knot. And then, let me see, what else can I tell you that I did? Oh, along the edges then here, instead of having just have it turned on the edge there, I took and I snipped along the edges here, so it kind of fringe. I can't say FR because I don't have the teeth in my mouth right now. It kind of fringed the edges right here, and that fringed them. And you can go in even you can see where you've slashed it. You can go and fringe even this. You can go and just snip, 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 snip. Like you can just go with your scissor and you can just go snip. Well, these ones don't want to cut this fabric. You have to have sharp scissors. You gotta have some sharp scissors. There you go, see? So you can even make it fringe even more by snipping. And I might go through and do a lot of snipping, but when you do that snipping, you are making your piece even more artistic. This is art. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. And on the center square here, I just cut that across diagonally, and then I rounded it. I just kind of rounded the fold, and then just did some couching to hold that rounded fold over, and then that peeks through. The purple from the felt peeks through. I like using the felt because it's got some stability to it, and it's it's got some stability to it, and so your finished product then it's stiff, I guess, you know, and I like that. And so this one here, I have got somebody in mind I'm going to send this to. I think I'm going to do a little bit more snipping before I send this off. And then here I put some chain stitch down the center of this one. And you can do anything. You can add anything to it. So many things that you can add to it. I love using buttons. I love using buttons. I love using the little beads with the sequins. They're beautiful. But just going through and like here, I did snipping on the edge right here. I think this would be pretty too if there was a blanket stitch all the way around, using the I love the variegated thread, so it's all different colors. So if you did a blanket stitch all the way around the edge, then oh my gosh, that would be so beautiful, even more beautiful. And then even on this part that I just made into a fringe, I went on a few of them, like right here, I put a sequin in a button, a sequin in a bead there. Here I held that one down with just a French knot. Well, I guess that's the only two I did. But once I washed this and then I fluff it up before I let it dry, and look how pretty that hangs. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? I think this is gorgeous. And so I'm going to work on this one today. This is my today's project. I'm going to do this one. But this one, it's going to get sent off in a happy mail. I've got somebody in mind that I want to send this off in a happy mail. So I'll probably get this one sent off today. But and then the receiver. Oh, I think I want to cut this a little bit more. Oh, it's already cut. It's just didn't flip up. Okay. The receiver then can add to it or put this in her journal, because the receiver has a journal, or will have one once I convince her to get one, if she hasn't started one already. But look at that, how pretty that is. Look, I love this. And this is art. This is, and what we're not going to just do all solo stitching on this series on our Mondays. It's going to be textile art, because we're going to use a lot of textiles, and we're going to be using the sewing machine as well as hand stitching. And slow stitching is mostly hand stitching, any kind of hand stitching. But if we say slow stitching / textile art, well then that describes what we're doing here. But so that doesn't mean you can't use your sewing machine. That means we can use our sewing machine too, because I don't want to neglect Freya, my beautiful new sewing machine. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today. So, but I'm going to, and I'll let you see this one when I'm finished. This one here, after I work on it some. Maybe I'll show you tomorrow where I've gotten on this one, because I'm going to be working on this one today quite a bit. And so, because I got to work on something, because if I don't do this kind of stuff, then I got to do like washing dishes and stuff, and Lord knows I don't want to be washing no dishes. So I'm just going to sort of pin these on just a little bit so that they don't go flying away somewhere. And I don't know who makes such a big mess in my area. I'm still looking for the mess maker, because I'm going to make the mess maker clean this up. See? Yeah. Nice pin cushion. Oh, there's my pin cushion. See, I can put another pin right there. I don't put many pins in, because, and then I'll pull those pins out once I see, because now I got all my pieces there. And I'll start sewing it on my Freya machine right here. Freya will sew it for me. And oh, I found my needles that I couldn't find yesterday. I found them. I'm so happy to have found them. But anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today. So, yes, textile art. Look at that. Oh, and in my Amazon affiliate link, I did put this felt, this package of felt that I bought. It's in there, and in my favorite things, because I'm going to be using this up, the felt, because I like that it gives it that heavy background. And you don't have to use felt on the back. You can use any piece of fabric on the back. Anything. And so, anything, just anything you choose. Doesn't matter. But once you wash it, or wet it, and then scrunchel it up, you know, then it really gets very pretty. So, let me get a book so I can read to you something from Helen Steiner Rice. And let's see, I read that one. The Hope of the World. Oh, I bet that's good. The Hope of the World. An empty tomb, a stone rolled away, speak of the Savior who rose Easter Day. But that was centuries and centuries ago, and we ask today, was it really so? Did he walk on earth and live and die, and return to his Father to dwell on high? We were not there to hear or see, but our hopes and dreams of eternity are centered around the Easter story, when Christ ascended and rose in glory. And life on earth has not been the same, regardless of what the skeptics claim. For after the Lord was crucified, even the ones who had scoffed and denied knew that something had taken place that nothing could ever remove or erase. For hope was born in the soul of man, and faith to believe in the God's master plan stirred in the hearts to dispel doubt and fear, and that faith had grown with each passing year. For the hope of man is the Easter story, for life is robbed of all meaning and glory, unless man knows that he has a goal and a resting place for his searching soul. That's beautiful. Yep. And Easter, again, just around the corner. Time passes so quickly. And thank you so much for watching, for hanging out, and admiring my beautiful artwork here. And I hope you try this. I mean, if you got a sewing machine, that's good. If you don't, each one of these could actually be hand stitched. So watch through it again to see what I did, and then it's your turn. Okay. God bless you and keep you. May He watch over you every step you take, every move you make. And I will see you come back healthy, happy, smiling, and safe to the next video. God bless.